Bam! We are live. What is up, 2K crew? Welcome to this week's show. Like the title says, it's the MLB in a sticky situation. And I think 2Ks and I we really haven't even talked about this, but I have a feeling you're with me in saying yes. Yes, they are. So we're going to get into that as well as probably just some random baseball talk all around. I really don't think we can talk to you guys for a whole hour about pitchers using foreign substances, but we'll give it a shot. But 2Ks, how we doing, brother?
Good. How are you?
Good. I hope everyone survived the weekend. It was probably our first really warm weekend. And so I think it's official to say that summer's here. Yeah. Did get out golfing for the first time last week, so that was pretty sweet. Yeah, I hacked around, but in normal turbo fashion, drained 2 putts from over 20 feet. So.
Well, that's what keeps you coming back.
Of course.
You can have the worst day ever on a golf course, and you hit that one shot or that one putt.
Yep.
And it's like, man, I think I got this figured out now. Now I just need to play more golf.
And then now after this, what I really need to do is tweet Bryson and start talking shit to him.
There you go.
So that'll bring me on the map. Yes, and then next thing you know, Bob's your uncle. I'm internet famous. But top into the box score here real quick, 2K crew. And if you guys didn't see it in the countdown, if you do want to join the 2K crew, probably the best Facebook group in the history of Facebook. If you guys do want to go there, it's facebook.com/groups/2K crew. It is free to join, and we would love to have you in there. It is such a like we've talked about many times before. These ladies and gentlemen in the group are on top of their shit because they usually post stuff before ESPN breaks it on the bottom line. So hop on over there, and I post some polls and stuff to kind of get your guys and gals reaction to things. So it's a lot of fun. Let's just put it that way. It's a lot of fun. And for those of you listening on the podcast, go ahead and give us a follow and a like. That would be amazing. That would help the show out a lot. And for those of you on the YouTubes, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit the like, comment, share this around, because that will help the channel out as well. And if you're feeling super generous, go to www.buyturboabeer.com, and that's a way you can monetarily help the show. So any and all is appreciated, and if you don't do any, we still love you. So 2Ks, let's jump into the hot button issue of this week's show. For those of you that don't know, I believe it was Josh Donaldson was the first one to come out about this, and he was in. Even before then, we've seen. The one that comes right to mind is Michael Pineda when he was with the Yankees, and dude had like a whole arm full of a foreign substance, whether it be pine tar or whatever, and so this has been going back a while. And I was actually listening to the Pat McAfee show, and he had one of the ESPN analysts on there and said that this actually goes back. Like doctoring the baseball, putting a foreign substance on it goes back to like 1902, and that's when they outlawed the spitball. So this has been going on for a while. It's just now with technology and different materials and substances that it's becoming more and more of an issue. And there's going to be one stat that is going to be a telltale sign of whether or not someone is using this stuff. And the substance in question, and 2K crew, we didn't really have any pre-show prep here, so I'm not sure if 2Ks knows what the substance is called, but it's called Spider Tech. And what this Spider Tech stuff does, or what it was initially designed for, was the world's strongest men, the guys that would pick up the big Atlas stones and stuff. Yep. It's meant to be super fucking sticky, super sticky, and there's been like videos that I've watched where they can hold the baseball, like their hand up to the side, and have the baseball on their hand, and it sticks there. Yeah, it doesn't even fall. It's beyond like the normal like pine tar or anything like you use like that. And that's kind of progressing with things. It started out with spit, and then it was pine tar and rosin mixed, and now it's the Spider Tech stuff. And of course, once this all comes out, everyone was talking about the Yadi Molina when the ball stuck to his chest protector. Was that the reason why? And I mean, it's a very good question. It's a very valid question. And there's also one part of me, 2Ks, and I'll kind of give you my opinion on things, and I'll throw it over to you, and then we'll kind of discuss from there. But I do think this does have a direct effect on the amount of no hitters, the amount of just strikeouts in general. And if you are an avid baseball fan, there's some dudes that are spinning the ball and it's going places that it never used to go to. Now, as a hitter, you could look at this one of two ways. The first one is, I really want the pitcher to have a good grip on the baseball. I don't want to wear it. But on the other hand, how much is too much? So, and if you outlaw all foreign substances, especially, living here in Michigan, you and I played baseball when it was fucking cold. Your hands get kind of, get cold. You start to lose grip on the baseball. So is this going to be, no holds barred, everything's out the window, or do you allow certain things? Knowing it's baseball, it's kind of hard to project where they're going to go with this. I have a feeling that they absolutely have to address it, which they're starting to. And I don't know if you saw the picture of Josh Donaldson the other day wearing a rib protector before the game. I don't know if he actually wore it in the game or if it was just to be funny, but shit's real. Shit's real. So my 2 cents on the whole thing is, we talked about different things or ways to make the hitters better. Like we talked about the shift. We talked about a number of things leading to the no-hitters. And, we had Mr. Garvelink, comment and say, just let them all use steroids and cheat. It's more fun. It's more fun of a game to watch that way. But baseball has to do something, because I do think this is a direct correlation of the amount of strikeouts. I don't think the hitters are that bad, especially they keep increasing and increasing. And I know that the philosophy of the game and the philosophy of hitting has changed since we were kids. But come on, I mean it's something's got to be up. Something's got to be up. The pitchers all of a sudden didn't just get better. Yeah, that much better, that quicker when it comes to this. So,
so everything that I'm reading, listening to, because this has been a story that's been talked about on every sports podcast that I was listening to during the week, and then flipping through the channels, and they're talking about it on ESPN, they're talking about it on the MLB channel. I mean, it's everywhere, and they can figure all this out just by looking at one simple stat, and it's the spin rate, the spin rate on the baseball, and when your spin rate basically goes up by 200, 300, 400 more spins, then it obviously something's up and it's not right. So, but what do you do? How do you police it? That's because it seems like, and this is where baseball's not the most popular sport anymore. I mean, especially here in the States, it's everybody wants to talk about football, and then after that, it's probably basketball after that. And with baseball, it seems like the only time that there's news on baseball, it's when there's some kind of a cheating scandal going on, whether it's stealing signs, whether it's something that you're doing
beating trash cans,
whether doing something with the baseballs, and it's so unfortunate because we talk about it all the time with the talent that Major League Baseball has right now, and some of these names, these kids that are not even 23, 24 years old yet, like Ronald Acuna,
Morgan
Fernando
was
Tatis.
Stoked about it.
I mean, just big time names, and we don't get the time to talk about them. We talk about shit like this, and that's what's so annoying to me.
Yeah, I totally agree.
In all honesty, like I would much rather them just put a damper on this shit, stop talking about it, and if you want to say something to pitchers or you want to have umpires police it a little bit more. Before games, when there's cameras are obviously not on it,
sure,
and try not to make a big deal out of it. That's what because I think by doing this, baseball's setting themselves up to fail. Major League Baseball is setting themselves up to fail, and because they're gonna, if they really start to look into this and police it the way, they're gonna find so much shit.
Yeah.
That it's just gonna. To me, I don't think it's worth it. I don't think it's worth it. And I think I think more majority of hitters in Major League Baseball would say that they would much rather pitchers have some kind of a foreign substance on their hand, because they don't want to take 100-mile-an-hour off the face or anywhere on their body. So if that means having to face a little bit of more challenging pitch, to have to hit, I would rather take that than the chance of having somebody throw 100-mile-an-hour and catch me in the face.
Yeah, I'm leaning towards that way myself. One of the things that I found really interesting when doing a little bit of research on this was Trevor Bauer, your favorite dude in the world. He's very analytic. He wants to know baseball in and out. And he actually went and did a study, I can't remember at which university, to see how he can increase his spin rate naturally. And couldn't figure out anything. He just figured that he's maxed out. All of a sudden this year, spin rate's up about 300 RPMs. And the reason the thumbnail has Garrett Cole and Aroldis Chapman, and it just says cheaters with a question mark. And of course, I'm gonna get some people that, well, of course you put them, the Yankees on there with cheaters, Turbo, you're a Red Sox fan. There's a reason why I put them on there, and the reason being is Garrett Cole was the one that was asked about what if he's ever used it, and he didn't answer.
He didn't say no.
No,
he didn't say. He talked. There was a lot of words that come out of his mouth, but yes or no never came. He never gave a true answer on it. And
no, you are very correct.
But to me, it's, and you know how I feel about Bauer. And the thing is, it's not that I hate Bauer. I do not hate him. I used to really like him a lot, and then it seems like the last couple of years he's just kind of just a little bit too much. That's the only thing I have to really negative to say about him. Then he joined the fucking Dodgers, and that just didn't really sit right with me either. That was like Durant going to the Warriors a few years ago. Yep. So it's just, but I mean, I don't really knock these guys, because there's no, like, this shit of pitchers using foreign substances has been going on since before we were even born.
No, of course.
Everybody that watches baseball more than once or twice, a year, knows that this stuff is going on every single game, every single night, every season since we've been alive. But there's a rule that says, you can't use foreign substances, but it's basically one of those rules that nobody ever really talks about. Nobody ever polices it unless it's completely obvious.
Yeah.
Where it's, like the Pineda, where he's got, his arm is just covered in the shit.
It's shiny.
Or the hat is just completely covered. But most of the time, you can see it on pitchers' hats.
Yeah.
And they're still rubbing it every single time.
Yeah.
And nothing's ever said. The only time something's really ever said is if that pitcher's completely tearing the team up, and then the other manager wants to go out, question it. Normally it leads to the pitcher getting tossed out. Then it leads to, probably that team's going to have a batter that's going to take one in the ass, and then, it's just bench clearing or whatever. And so I think it's kind of just like that. Teams, they don't really want to go down that road, so they don't even, I think it's hard to, I'm trying to think of the way to explain this, but I think it's just one of those things where every manager in baseball knows that he's got guys on his team that are doing it.
Sure, absolutely.
So I don't want to question another team, because then it's just going to put
fingers pointing back at me.
Yes, exactly. So, and that's where I don't know, or I don't understand what Major League Baseball thinks that they're going to get out of this, other than make their own sport look even more like shit. And that's where I'm just like, stop trying to make news. Stop trying to put articles out there. Stop trying to bring more baseball haters that we don't need into it, and just fucking. You want pitchers are gonna be able to use this stuff. We're gonna juice the fuck out of the baseballs, and we're gonna go back to seeing guys hitting 50, 60, 70 home runs in a season because we're gonna juice the balls up, and we're gonna be consistent with those balls, and that's just how it's gonna be. Or like I've said time and time again, get rid of the fucking shift.
Yeah.
Do things. Allow these pitchers to do whatever they want, and don't make a big deal out of it. But change the goddamn rules and give to where the batters can have something. Whether that means getting rid of the shift or that means juicing back up the baseballs, do something. Obviously, we can't be telling these athletes to go back to steroids and that day. Yeah. We can't be doing that anymore. But change the rules and make it more beneficial to the hitter also.
Well, we did have we actually have another YouTube celebrity in the house, 2Ks. We've got Mr. B Fishing for Cards, Ben Fisher himself. He says that he corrected me and said the spitball was banned in 1920. And he also says, too, do they really want to open this can of worms? No. And I think we're all three of us are in agreement with that, Mr. Fisher. Absolutely. But to get back to the thumbnail, the reason why Aroldis Chapman's on there, since this news kind of broke, he seems kind of broken. Mm-hmm. He's blown 3 straight saves now. He just blew one yesterday. And not yesterday, the game before, he gave up 4 straight hits and 2 home runs. First time ever in his career he's allowed 4 straight hits. Mm-hmm. And get this, his fastball's not as fast. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, he's also aged quite a bit from where he was in his first go around with the Yankees before he was traded to the Cubs.
The Cubs put a lot of miles on those tires.
Yes. I mean, he was pitching in that World Series game with the Cubs, and it didn't look like he had anything left in the tank at all. But the Cubs had nobody left that could get out of a ball game, close a ball game out.
They knew that season. He was leaving after that season, so they're going to ride that horse until it dies.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, absolutely. So, is it? I guess in the grand scheme of things, 2Ks. I mean, obviously, steroids was a big black eye for baseball because they pretty much turned their eye for how many years?
The thing is with that is it really wasn't.
Right.
MLB created it. Mm-hmm. I mean, they labeled it as and they gave themselves the quote unquote black eye through that. But in the grand scheme of things, that's what brought baseball back. That's what made it popular again. That chasing or watching that McGwire and Sosa home run race is what. I mean, that was not only in just the United States, but it was it was global. Everybody was watching those two in the home run race, and obviously Sammy Sosa not being from the States, so it was the excitement that baseball needs, and baseball loved it at the time when they were making all the money off of it. But then when the kind of the hard questions that they didn't necessarily want to answer, then they just threw both those guys under the bus. And then basically said, well, we had nothing to do with it. Oh, bullshit. You did have something to do with it. When it was filling up ballparks and not just where St. Louis was playing or where the Cubs were playing, they were filling up every ballpark around, because if they were going to be in that city for that weekend, everybody all over the world was buying tickets to try to get into that. So once they made all the money and pretty much got every benefit they could out of it, then they just threw both those guys under the bus and got away with it. And now that's what to me, if baseball keeps going, if Major League Baseball keeps going with this and investigates this even further, they're only going to hurt themselves with it. And it's, I don't think you want to even mess with this.
Ben says sold a lot of MLB merch, and that is exactly right. And so then fast forward to, obviously the next kind of quote unquote scandal, or however you want to note it, is, we mentioned it, the sign stealing and the Astros and Alex Cora and you, even when that was going down, I have a feeling that you wouldn't believe that just the Astros were doing that. It wasn't just the Astros. It wasn't just Alex Cora. It wasn't there's probably every team probably has its own little system. Mm-hmm. Let's be honest. We don't have to, to quote one of my good friends, you lie to your friends, I'll lie to my friends. Let's not lie to each other. So when it comes to, if they do want to go down this road and start punishing and, what's going to be the punishment? Are you just ejected? And after so many ejections, are you fined? Are you suspended? And I think if that's the way or avenue they want to go down, you're going to see players turning on each other. Mm-hmm. That's when you're going to, all right, well, this dude, take like the Cubs and Cardinals, like we're watching right now. Obviously, they are the Cubs and Cardinals have always been natural rivals, and what's to say that what are they doing? Are those
cups? Beer cups.
Oh, wow, that's impressive. That's impressive, and it's sixth inning. It's not even the ninth inning, but it totally threw me off track. I apologize, but no, you're gonna see some of these rivalries heat up, and not in the way that we want as baseball fans. You are gonna see, because remember, like especially in this example, the pitchers do hit. The pitchers do hit, and I have a feeling that if one guy is caught doing this in one of these games, it is going to lead to those bench clearing, people wearing it, and someone's going to get hurt. Mm-hmm. Someone's going to get hurt really bad. And we talked about it, I think, a couple weeks ago. Kevin Pollard getting hit in the face and being one of the nastiest. I mean, just blood pouring from his nose and his face. And luckily for him, he's back. He's still. I mean, I can imagine mentally that's got to fuck with you.
Oh yeah.
That's got to, and it's going to stay with you. I mean, it has to. It's human nature. And now he's got the cool little face protector now. So that's pretty dope. But it's going to lead to something bad. Why? Because baseball is about numbers, and those numbers lead to other numbers, which is contracts. And the lower your batting average is, your power numbers, the smaller that contract's going to be. Smaller that contract's going to be. So, do I think they're going to do something about it? I do. Just because it's mainstream right now, everybody's talking about it, and I think they learned their lesson from the steroid era, where they, again, like I said, they turned a blind eye for so many years that they were forced to do something, and I really don't think they're going to let it get to that point with this. And what you might be sitting there thinking to yourself, well, Turbo, there's a big difference between steroids and a foreign substance. Not really. Mm-hmm. They're both enhancers, if you think about it that way. It's just one is a drug that you inject, and or the cream or pills or whatever, and the other isn't. It's not going. There's no potential long-term effects. Yeah. I mean, I just wash it off. Hopefully. Otherwise, you'll be like that scene in Christmas Vacation where he's got the sap and they're laying in bed and he's got the all the shit sticking to his hands and stuff. But no, in all seriousness, this is the longer it goes on without MLB doing something or saying something isn't going to just make this go away. Mm-hmm. It's just prolonging the inevitable, and it's making baseball look stupid. Yeah. It really does. Mm-hmm. It really does. And
as we've seen with the whole Houston Astros cheating scandal, baseball does the people that are running, and this is hard for me to say because it's obviously my favorite sport and it's my favorite sport to follow, but the people that are in charge of making these calls and these decisions, they don't need any more help at making themselves look like stupid jackasses. Mm-hmm. Like they do a very good job of that shit for no reason at all. So now when you take something like this, they'll fucking botch this.
Oh, sure.
Terribly, just like they did with the situation with Houston, and somehow guys like Jose Altuve and Alex Bregman and Carlos Correa and all them guys don't have to face one fucking game of, one game at all. They didn't have to sit out anything. But guys that were coming in spring training or at the beginning of the season and beating them were told that they were going to be suspended for, could be up to 20, 50 games.
Yeah, which is absolutely ridiculous.
So that's what I'm afraid of. Like, okay, I'm not saying that this isn't a problem. My approach on this is, let's not bring any attention to it and try to just let it go away. Like, okay, put the pitchers on blast a little bit. Umps are going to be looking for this. Let's not make a big deal out of it, though. Let's just try to have the players clean it up themselves.
Yeah.
Don't need to go out of the way and hand out suspensions or throw any of these guys' names out there in reports, which I know that shit's going to happen because. But that's what I don't want to happen. Like, set the example that we're going to have umpires looking and looking into this a little bit, and guys will stop doing it if they know that they're going to have their shit searched, or they're going to umps are going to be out on the mound looking at that. But don't make a big deal out of it. Try to be as low key on this as you possibly can. That's my opinion on it. I mean, do I think that they can just go and just keep allowing them to do this? No, you can't, because with technology. The technology that we have today, and being able to break down every single pitch that these guys release, and I mean, you can tell how many times the ball spins. Mm-hmm. I mean, so obviously they're going to be able to pick up anything from anybody, and it's that easy to find somebody cheating. But just don't make a big deal out of it. I don't want to see any of these guys, getting suspended. And even if you do catch them in the act of doing it, they don't need to be suspended on it. I mean, if it keeps happening over and over again, then I can see it. But toss them out of the fucking game. They're kicked out of that game. And then if they want to pitch the next day, they can pitch the next day. Yeah. Now, if it happens, 2 or 3 times in a week from the same guy, okay, then we got to start talking about. Then
it's an issue.
Yeah, maybe we start with a 5-game suspension and work our way up from that.
That's what we refer to as a habitual line stepper.
Can't treat it like when you get caught, juicing, and it's like, I think it's your first offense is 50 games.
Either that or 80.
Yeah,
it's
half a year. Yeah, and I think it's like your third strike, you're out, done. You're done.
You're done skiing.
And I'm completely fine with that, but we can't treat putting some fucking foreign substance on your hand as a pitcher. Yeah. We cannot treat that the same way that we're going to treat performance-enhancing drugs.
No, I 100% agree with you, and I think myself as well as any other baseball fans kind of curious to see where this is going to lead, how they're going to, because like I said, they have to address it. Mm-hmm. And I think as as baseball fans in general, we deserve at least acknowledgement. And is this the answer to the question that we posed a couple weeks ago, is, are pitchers that much more advanced? Mm-hmm. And it's kind of a shame that we're talking about pitchers like this instead of like what Jacob deGrom is doing. 0.54 ERA in his first 10 starts. Mm. He's given up 3 earned runs in 10 starts. Dude has 5 RBIs. I mean, and on top of that, his performances remind me a lot of Justin Verlander when he was making his winning his MVP, because he's dialing up triple digits in the 7th, 8th, and 9th inning. Yeah. And, hopefully, he went out of Saturday's game a little early, but he says everything's fine, and the MRI came back and everything's fine. So hopefully that continues, because those are the type of pitching stories I want to hear. Not this. Yeah. Yep. And, as much as it pains me to say is, even like the Garrett Cole and Aroldis Chapman that I have on the thumbnail, they're part of the rivalry between the Red Sox and Yankees. So I want to see them play. And I want to see that the real them. Now, one of the things Garrett Cole did say, amongst a few other things, which was kind of hard, you could definitely tell that he had an answer in his head, because I'm pretty sure every pitcher is going to be asked this question. And the question was, have you ever used Spider Tech? And he kind of starts off the question with, or the answer, excuse me. There's things passed down from older players to newer players, and which is 100% true.
Absolutely.
Which is 100% true. And
he was coached up on that answer for sure.
It was just the funny part about the answer was, I'm pretty sure if you pieced it all together, it made sense. But it's like he cut the sentence up into like or the response into like 8 different pieces, threw them up in the air, and was just picking them up randomly and reading them. It was he was definitely uncomfortable. Which, I mean, just his response, and I'm no body language expert, but it leads me to think that he either has or still does.
Oh yeah.
And I think if they do try to do this witch hunt, you're going to find out that 95% of all of them,
absolutely.
And 95 probably is a small number.
Yeah.
And it would blow my mind if not every pitcher has used it or still does.
I'm sitting here thinking, I'm trying to think of a pitcher that I've watched in the last few years that doesn't touch his hat, touch his arm, touch something on his jersey, touch something in his glove.
Yeah. It seems like every single reliever has like their routine. Papa Grande was the worst one. It seemed like it would take that dude 2.5 minutes in between pitches.
And the bill of his hat was nothing but pine tar.
Yeah.
I mean, so that goes back 10 years just about.
Well, so even go back to the Tigers when they made it to the World Series. Kenny Rogers
had it on his fucking arm.
Yeah.
In a playoff game.
Yeah.
Against the Yankees.
In front of God and everybody.
I mean, and he was picking apart the Yankees in a game. Of all games where they could have made a big deal out of it, and he would have. I mean, because it was blatantly obvious.
Yeah. It was like glimmering in the lights.
Yeah. So, and the last thing I want to say on this too is, because Garrett Cole's kind of the name that's just getting through. I think he's getting dragged through the mud on this, and I feel bad for him because, and I hate the Yankees, I do, and I hate the whole Houston situation, but regardless of Garrett Cole, whatever he has on his hands, even if it's nothing, he's a top 5 pitcher in the game.
Sure,
probably a top 3 pitcher in the game, and that doesn't change. So let's not. I don't want to see where people start ripping on him and saying he can't do this without bullshit.
No, if you come at us with that argument,
because this isn't gonna. I mean, like he won't be using this stuff, and his spin rate will obviously go down a little bit, and he might lose a little bit of that control that he has, and without the spin rate being what it is, he might not have as much bite to those breaking balls and everything like that, but. He's still freaking nasty. He's the best pitcher on that Yankees team by far, and I still chalk him up as the best pitcher in the American League. The only pitcher in the game that I can honestly sit here and say right now is better than him is DeGrom. Yeah. But DeGrom can't stay healthy, so.
Unfortunately, you are correct. And Mr. Ben Fisher comes at us again and says pregame inspections with applicable fines. Yeah, to me that's the unless there's something that we're not thinking about.
The only problem with that is you go in the dugout in between every single inning, and like there's pitchers there. This stuff is really really obvious that they're doing it, but there's also pitchers that are doing it, and it's not that obvious to pick that up. And I mean, I think if it was that obvious where to pick up that they're doing it. This shit would have come up a long time ago because these guys have been using this spider tech for longer than it's not like this shit just come out this season.
No.
They've been using this stuff for a while, so it's going to be one of those things where I think umpires are going to have to do kind of maybe a quick inspection in between innings when that pitcher's warming up. And it doesn't have to be on the camera. No. So the only people that are going to see it, the umpires even doing it, are the people that are in attendance at the game. And just make it something where you quick rundown and you look at their glove, you look at their arm, you look at their hat, and that's it. But where it gets hard is, a lot of these pitchers have been relying on this stuff for how long? and they haven't been, because I don't think a lot of these pitchers have been relying on it as to make them better. But I think a lot of them, I think it's very true when a lot of them say, we use this stuff for the control. We use this stuff. There's a lot of, the most meaningful baseball of the year comes in October.
Where it's cold.
And that's when pitchers are amped up and they're, at times probably overthrown a little bit. Well, having a good grip on the baseball is going to be very, very important.
Yeah. I would think so.
Do you? I just don't know where you go with this. Like, obviously you can't have the spider tech where the fucking baseball's stuck to their hand and it doesn't fall off. But do you allow them to have something other than the fucking rosin bag out there that doesn't really necessarily work?
Yeah, and
the rosin bag doesn't make the ball any more sticky to your hands. It dries your hands out, so your hands aren't sweating.
Yeah.
So a little bit of pine tar might not be a bad thing. So that's where to me it's so complicated. Is you're just gonna wipe out everything and have these?
Yeah, which I don't think you could do that.
Yeah.
I don't. Ben also says, just saying the easy way out for the MLB is to back out of the mess, but still save face. And
I think that there's a lot of, I think he's very, very right on that. Like, you don't want to make a big deal out of it, but in the same, it's so complicated. It's so complicated. You don't want to make a big deal about it, but at the same time, I think by just talking about it a little bit, or maybe saying that umpires are going to be looking for it, that's going to kind of police itself.
Yeah.
To where guys that are doing it, or maybe going a little bit overboard with it, are going to kind of slow it down or completely stop using that kind of stuff, because they know that there's the possibility that they might get busted on this. So I think allowing it to just kind of police itself might be the best approach on this.
Well, yeah, I have a feeling that. I shouldn't say I have a feeling. I hope that the worst of this is behind us, and we can actually get to focus on what's really important. But I'll bring this portion of the show to an end with this, and we'll leave it with this. The whole time we've been talking, the only thing I could think of is the movie Major League with Charlie Harris, and Rick Vaughn goes, "What's that shit on your chest?" What? Crisco, Bardol, Vagisil. Hell, if the ump's watching me close, I'll rub a little jalapeno inside my nose, get it to running. If I need to load the ball up, I just wipe my nose. So maybe Charlie Harris was onto something. Well, let's talk some good stuff about baseball 2Ks. And the thing that comes to mind right out the gate, and I was actually talking to Ben about this a little bit earlier, was Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Now, if you didn't know, he's leading the majors in home runs. Just hit 21 today, I believe. And which, on a whole other subject, man, he is crushing the ball out of Fenway Park. And just think of he played there 81 times a year, how many more home runs he would have. But that's neither here nor there. But just the resurgence, because I mean, a lot of folks were dogging him last year about he was overweight, and I don't know if it was, like the Cubs. Chris Bryant had a horrible season last year. Christian Yelich had a horrible season, and not quite as bad as those two was Vladdy. And it was either the MLB Network or ESPN put up a graphic comparing his numbers right now to his dad's MVP season. And ironically enough, Vlad Jr.'s every stat that they showed was better than his dad's when he won the MVP. So do you think that he has a legitimate shot for the AL MVP?
Absolutely.
Yeah?
Absolutely. I mean, at the pace that he's at right now, like, he's in the same conversation as what Fernando Tatis has been doing, Ronald Acuna, Juan Soto, those big names, those three names that I think have kind of like taken over baseball.
Sure.
I mean, obviously I still consider Mike Trout the best player in baseball, but those three names that I just named off are kind of they were like the next possible Mike Trouts, the face of baseball. The three of them were, I mean, it was just so much excitement with all three of them. And now, in my opinion, you can put this guy right in there with them and have it be all four of them. It was very obvious last year that he was playing too heavy. Mm-hmm. And then when they started talking about this offseason, just the work that he'd been putting in and then showed up to spring training and just looked like a completely different human being. You'd like to see that kind of stuff. Obviously he worked his ass off to get to where he's at now, and now to watch it play out and it just everything working out for him and everything. That's what, to me, it's been an awesome story to watch, and I hope it sticks for the rest of the season.
Do you think too, moving from third to first helped?
Yeah.
I mean, you might be saying to yourself, well, Turbo, what the hell difference does that mean? Well, first base is a little less demanding than third base.
Yeah, we watched it. I mean, me being the Tigers fan that I am, watched it firsthand with Miguel Cabrera when he first come to Detroit. He was playing third base in Detroit, and he just defensively made a ton of errors, and then it just pretty much came to the point where we have to get him away from third base, and when they moved him over to first base, like, he was already one of the best hitters in baseball, but then all of a sudden that guy turned into not just being one of the best hitters in baseball, but he was the best hitter in baseball. Yeah. And it led to Triple Crown season where he has that, and MVP seasons. And I really think that happened because of the transition to first base.
Sure.
It took the pressure off him, and then kind of some of that pressure came back to him when they signed Prince Fielder, because obviously you weren't going to have him playing, so they had to shift Miggy back over to third base. And I think not only he wasn't able to relax as much, but I think that led to some of the injuries that Miggy's seeing now. Now that he's in his late 30s
right.
in his career, I think that if they would have been able to take away some of the miles of him playing on the left side of the infield, who knows?
Yeah.
But in my opinion, and maybe it could have, the longevity of him playing out. Look, I think for Vladdy at, what is he, 22, 23 years old?
I think he might be 23.
He's going to be one of the best hitters in baseball for the rest of his career. I mean, look, we've been watching this kid swing the bat since he was 14, 15 years old. He's not going to ever be known for his defense, so get him the fuck away from the left side of the infield and play him at first and DH him, and just make sure that his bat's in the lineup 100. If you can make sure his bat's in the lineup 155, 156 times in a season, then you're good.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And one of the things that if you ever remember watching Vlad Sr., if you looked up free swinger in the dictionary, you would see a picture of Vladimir Guerrero Sr. One of the good parts about Junior is that he has way more plate discipline than his father. And I think we're now seeing kind of the whole package when it comes to Junior there. And Mr. Fisher, I'm sure, would agree with us and hope, because all offseason, Ben was hounding us and telling us to buy Vlad Jr. rookie cards. Buy Vlad Jr. rookie cards. And we probably should have.
I listened to him quite a bit, because I stocked up pretty decent.
So you two are in the same boat. And
I mean, I'm nowhere near what he has,
right.
But I have a decent collection of them.
Ben says he's hitting 450 to 500 foot bombs. That is very true.
Yeah, I think with him, when it's all said and done, he's going to be a better hitter than his dad.
Yeah.
And that's we're talking about a Hall of Fame player.
Yeah, which is kind of scary.
Now Vladdy Daddy, outfielder, defensively was very solid. Had a cannon for an arm.
Probably one of the best right field arms ever.
Yeah. So defensively, I don't think we'll ever see that out of Junior, but I tell you what this kid's doing, like Ben just said, 450 foot home runs. He's a 22-year-old. Just looking at just the raw ability that he has to just be that power hitter. Of all the other three guys that I mentioned, in Soto, Tatis, and Acuna, this is the most raw power of all four of them.
Yeah.
In Vladdy.
All of them are, all the ones you just mentioned are capable of hitting 450 plus foot home runs.
Yes.
But Vlad's built to do that. He's built to do that. Whereas, obviously, we're talking about two outfielders and a shortstop. And I think Tatis being the shortstop makes it his talent set even more appealing to me. Because when's the last time a shortstop led the league in home runs?
Yeah, that's very true. But like I kind of looking forward to I want to see like 2 or 3 of these guys that we just mentioned in the home run derby.
Oh yeah,
and I want to see them swing off. Like I want to see. And everybody always talks about the home run derby curse. You get into it and you curse yourself. But something about seeing a home run derby where you got Vladdy, you got Soto, you got Tatis, and the flair that he brings, and the flair that all 4 of these guys bring.
Yep.
And just to be able to get 2 or 3 of them into that, or maybe someday we'll see all 4 of them in the same derby. Man, it'd be fun to watch.
Just think if it happened this year in Colorado. Good Lord. Yeah. Good Lord. Some of those balls will leave the state. On the next thing I wanted to chat about was, as we all know, Mike Trout's been out for a while, and he really hasn't even started running or anything like that. So we really don't know when he's going to be back. But for those of you that haven't noticed, the Angels are on quite a tear. They've won their last 5, and I think 8 out of their last 10. And in no way, shape, or form in this conversation am I saying the Angels are better without Michael Trout. If you're trying to bring that to me, you need to get the fuck out. And because that is not the case at all. There is no way your team is better without the best player on the planet. That is completely false. But I think it's the pitching.
Mm-hmm.
Like we talked about when we talked about Ohtani. Really wasn't. I mean, obviously the surgery went well because he's still doing things that only Babe Ruth has accomplished. Excuse me. So anytime your name is on a list with the Babe, I'm pretty sure you're doing something right. And to have him back, and now we are seeing him being a little bit more crisp, not walking as many hitters, and going 6 innings. Mm-hmm. And I think too that and one question that I would really, really like to ask the brass over there and at the Angels is, do they I'm not going to say put an innings cap, or because I mean nowadays anytime you get close to 100 pitches, they're talking, you got to get the bullpen warmed up because this guy's spent. And do you have a tighter leash with him because he's such a valuable player as a DH? Or hell, we've even seen him play right field a couple times here lately. So are they being a little bit more cautious with his pitch count, with his innings count? I would say yes, just because just coming off the injury.
Yeah, they didn't pitch last year.
Yeah.
I mean, so
just coming off the injury, and especially with Trout out, he's your bopper in the lineup. So you have to manage him differently than any other player in the league. And we've praised Joe Madden, many different times here on the show, and I think if anyone's going to do it and do it correctly, it's going to be him.
Yeah,
it's going to be him. Just because of the way he thinks, his style and everything just kind of vibes with that. And could any other manager manage it? Sure. But would they do it as well? I don't think so. So let's hope, for the hope of hopes, that Trout comes back and they keep this momentum going and actually make the fucking playoffs.
Yeah.
And then,
because that's what we want to watch.
Yes.
We want to watch Mike Trout, who's the best player, and then one of the most exciting players in all of baseball, in Ohtani, who can do it from on both sides of of home plate. So that's to me is baseball season is it's a marathon. It's not. We don't want to see Ohtani be maxed out right now. We're still in the first half of the season. We haven't even hit the halfway point yet. I don't want to see them max him out now and then have him down the stretch of the season not playing as well.
Yeah.
So they're a team that, with basically Mike Trout's been out for over a month now, going to be out for a while longer. If you can still hang around and be around, a little bit better 500 baseball team like they are right now, and not have to overuse Ohtani, and then get Trout back, maybe do something at the trade deadline to put yourself in the conversation. And then have Ohtani healthy and ready to go, and maybe use him a little, and start to use him more, or stretch out his pitching outings a little bit more in the second half of the season. I'm all about it. And if there's a man, like you said, with Joe Madden being in charge, there's probably no manager in all of baseball that I don't trust as much as I trust him. I mean,
Sure.
I have to believe that he's gonna put Ohtani in the best situation that he possibly can be in, and if the next month, 2 months, we get through the next month, the next 2 months, and the Angels start to kind of fall off, then I think you do kind of. I don't think you just completely shut him down, but
You bring him back in.
And you're not going to. There's no reason. He's 25 years old, so. Still have a lot of, he's under team control for a long time. So
Very true.
It's not, to me, if the situation is right and you have something to really play for, then absolutely. I'd like to see him amp it up in the second half. But if you fall off, and they already have, going against them, is they have Oakland and Houston in the same division as them. So it's going to be very hard for them to keep up, let alone, get over the top of one of those two teams to, even put themselves in the playoffs. So
what's their record? Do you have their record up right now?
33-32.
And they're
Oakland's 40-27. So I think it's safe to say nobody's catching Oakland.
No.
Oakland's the best team in that division, and then you got Houston 37-28.
Yeah, so it's, even bypassing or leaping over those two isn't impossible. Isn't impossible. However, the A's are playing very good baseball, but a wild card spot definitely. And like we said, baseball needs Mike Trout in the playoffs and to make noise in the playoffs.
And as far as with a wild card spot being there for him, absolutely. I mean, you look at the East, and the Yankees have the same record. So it's not like the Yankees have really done anything more. And Toronto's kind of right there in that same boat. We've talked about Toronto's pitching enough.
Yeah. They need to get some help at the trade deadline if they want to.
I think it's pretty safe to say Tampa and Boston are both playoff teams.
Well, Ben says, what's a better time to let people see you than with the Trout blanket lifted? Rendon peeking through. Who's next? It's very true. They have the horses to do it. It's just, and then I'm pretty sure throughout Trout's entire career, what's plagued him and the Angels is their pitching. Their pitching has been very substandard, and it's kind of a shame because obviously Trout's going to be there for a while. Just signed that big contract, a long contract. So let's hope. Like I said, let's hope in the hope of hopes that something magical happens and they're able to make the playoffs. And like I said, if everything trends the way it's going right now, I could see them I'm not going to say easily, but I could see them making the playoffs and making a little noise while they're there. So that's something that we shall see. And I'm pretty sure every baseball fan wants to see that. Pretty sure. And to wrap it up with, since we're sitting here, we got the Cubs and the Cardinals on right now. And I know you love talking about Cubs baseball 2Ks.
I like the Cardinals.
Yeah, all right. The Cubs are in first place in that division, aren't they?
Look real quick. I think you're right, though.
I want to say
Milwaukee right now by half a game.
Okay. All right. So
Cubs win tonight. They would tie it up.
Yeah. So I have a feeling that if you were to ask anyone that is able to make these decisions over at the Cubs organization, if you could have a redo and not trade Yu Darvish, would you do it? Because that's what this team is missing. They don't have an ace. They don't have a horse. If you think about it, Quintana's gone. Darvish is gone. Didn't re-sign Lester. I mean, they had a kid named Davies pitching tonight. A, he looked like he was 12. And B, no idea. And this is one of the teams that, A, I never bet on because they're too inconsistent. And they're not only inconsistent with pitching, they're inconsistent with hitting. I've never seen a group of dudes this talented have so many trouble scoring runs. It drives me up a wall. And I guess you could put the Yankees in the same boat as that. But do you think this Cubs team wins this division?
Man. That's a tough one. Because to me, I don't think we've seen the best yet out of St. Louis. I think they're going to get it going a little bit.
On paper, St. Louis should be running away with this division.
Yeah. Now, the one thing that hurts St. Louis is Jack Flaherty injury. Yeah. So he's going to be out for... That's a sad thing right now with baseball. There's a lot of big-time names that are not playing right now.
We got injuries. The biggest one.
Yeah.
You got the biggest one.
Yeah. And
hell, even Tatis can't stay healthy.
I don't think there's any question that the Cubs have the best lineup of any of these teams. It's the pitching that is the question. But the one thing, and like you talked about with their starting pitching, they don't have. Darvish would be perfect for them. Absolutely, he would. Their bullpen has been what has saved them.
Yeah.
And over the years, that's been their weak spot has been their bullpen. Well, they have it figured out. I believe in the bullpen.
Well, Kimbrel finally got his head out of his ass.
Yeah. But then there's 3 or 4 other guys that are pitching great in the bullpen. So their bullpen's been really good for them. Now it's just a matter of do they do something at the deadline?
They have to.
I mean, maybe give away a couple of your top prospects and take old Matty Boyd off of our hands in Detroit, or do something there. Or, I would not be opposed to looking at that, even though I know that the Cubs farm system is not what it used to be. No. They gave all that to the White Sox.
Yeah.
But
they did get some back.
Yeah, they did.
And it's
and they got a World Series out of it. I mean,
yeah.
They made the Cubs were aggressive and they gave a lot away, but they won a World Series out of it. So to me, that makes it all worth it.
Absolutely.
But to answer the question, I think I don't think the Cubs will win this division. I think St. Louis will get it going.
I think they finished 3rd in this division.
We got Milwaukee over them?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And
who do you have winning it? Milwaukee.
St.
Louis, yeah.
And for whatever reason, if they could get, and by they, I mean the Brewers, if they could get Yelich going consistently, getting back to, 2018, 2019, that Christian Yelich, that's a tough team. And they have the best pitching staff in that whole division, bar none. And with their position players, they should be more competitive. They should be scoring more runs. But yeah, I got St. Louis winning it. I've got Milwaukee being a wild card team, and the Cubs are, and that's as they sit right now. Could they overtake Milwaukee? Yes. But they have to go get some pitching help. They have to. They have to.
Yep.
All right.
One thing I have to talk about real quick, though, before we're done.
Lay it on me.
San Francisco.
Crazy. Who would have ever thought?
Anybody that follows baseball at all before the season started, the only team that you were talking, or the only 2 teams that you were talking about in that division were the Dodgers and the Padres.
Sure.
Deservingly so. I mean, San Francisco didn't even cross my fucking mind.
No.
Before the season started. I was thinking about them as another team, the same way that I think about the Cincinnati Reds, or the same way that I think about the Colorado Rockies. They're just another fucking team that's probably going to be in the running for the top 5 or 6 draft pick.
Yep.
Be down there with my Tigers, and probably not that bad, but
right. No, their pitching staff's amazing.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, they have the best at least starters ERA, if not staff ERA in all of baseball. And one of the really cool parts of that San Francisco story is I've always been a Longoria fan. Always. Such a pretty swing. And just a badass player.
Yep.
And to have him start the season is kind of like a career rejuvenating season. And then obviously he goes down, and didn't he collide with Crawford and mess his shoulder up or something?
Yep.
But I was very, very excited to see that. And I remember when we did our Way Too Early show, I remember my specific words talking about the Giants, and it's like, well, obviously it's not an even year, so there's no way they make the playoffs. Well, fuck me.
Yeah.
So yet again,
I mean, we talked about it there for it seemed like a whole episode a few weeks ago about how this rivalry between the Dodgers and the Padres is going to be. It's great for baseball, and absolutely it is.
Yeah.
My question is, do we get so caught up in this rivalry in baseball, and San Francisco wins this division?
And I tell you what, as long as the Dodgers don't win it, I would be happy.
Yeah.
I'd be happy.
Yeah.
And I know that with our Ben says Giants. Will Clark isn't still playing for him. No, I want to say he retired pre-pandemic.
Yeah.
I could be wrong. He still could be on the roster somewhere, but I don't think so. But no, you're 100% right. And maybe it's because they're out on the left coast, and we don't. I know I don't see a lot of their games, but I'm just trying to think through my mind how many Giants players I can name. There's not many.
Buster Posey.
Yeah. That's I can see the first baseman,
Brandon Belt, and they still got him. He seems like he's been there forever.
Yeah. It seems like he was there when Bonds was there. but no, it's one of the better stories that I think is getting overshadowed by this dumb shit like this.
Yeah, I mean, as of right now, a game ahead of the Dodgers.
Yeah.
The team that I think everybody pretty much chalked up as they're going to run away with the National League. And they still might. Yeah. But to be where we're at now, 3 months into the season just about, and for them to be a game ahead of the Dodgers, I think that's pretty fucking amazing.
Yeah, I could not agree more. Well, 2Ks, is there anything else we need to do to wrap this motherfucker up?
No, sir.
All right. I want to thank every one of you for hanging in here with us, especially our number one fan this week, Mr. B Fishing for Cards. And if you guys do like card break videos, head over to his channel. I'll put his last comment up here so you guys can see his YouTube handle. But go on there, check him out. He does a lot of cool baseball card breaks and card breaks, so get in on that. And so, Ben is very lucky when it comes to opening cards, because I don't get nearly the luck that he does. So go ahead and just kind of see some of the cool shit that he pulls. It is quite good. Well, 2K crew, we will catch you next week. Everyone have a great week. The weather seems to be cooling down just a tad. So get out, have fun, enjoy the outside, and as always, Jim Rome, we're coming for you.